history of Kansas, early exploration of Coronado, Zebulon Pike, and Fremont. And they don't have Stephen Long, but they mention him in this for over 300 years, from 1541 to 1853, the role of the military in Kansas was one of discovery. The first Europeans in what is now Kansas were Spanish soldiers led in 1541 by Francisco de Coronado. They failed to find cities of gold, but Coronado recognized the richness of the prairie soil and claimed the country for Spain. The French established a claim through the expedition in 1724 of Bourgmont. The first American explorer party was commanded by Zebulon Montgomery Pike in 1806, and Kansas was part of the newly acquired Louisiana Purchase. In 1819, the first scientific survey of Kansas was led by Major Stephen H. Long. Neither Pike nor Long saw any agricultural value to the Kansas Plains. The Kansas Plains were commonly referred to as the Great American Desert during this period. The first exploration of the Smoky Hill River Basin as a means of travel was conducted by John Fremont during the 1840s. The route he explored later became established as the Smoky Hill Trail. The final exploration in 1853 was conducted by Captain J.W. Gunnison of the Army's topographical engineers, who may have stood right on this spot. He led one of the 5 government expeditions searching for the best transcontinental railroad route. The path he surveyed here later became the Kansas Pacific Railway. Dull Knife's band of captured Northern Cheyenne, 1879. The Comanche people of the Central Plains and Rockies were among the first Indians to master the horse. By 1706, they had moved into what is now Kansas and had conquered or driven out the Apaches. Their rule of the prairie buffalo country led other people to call them Lords of the Plains. But by 1800, the lordship of western Kansas was contested by the Sioux, the Arapaho, and especially the Cheyenne. Life became more complicated for the Indian people of Kansas after 1830, when the U.S. Congress passed the Indian Removal Act. The government began forcing Indian people in the eastern states to give up their lands in exchange for land beyond the Missouri River. Soon there were Shawnee, Kickapoo, Delaware, Miami, Ottawa, and other tribes competing for resources in Kansas. After the Civil War, many of the tribes in Kansas were forced once again to move, this time to Indian territory. There's an old picture of rounding up a buffalo. The last of the Plainsmen, Buffalo Bill Cody. The death knell of the buffalo sounded when men got to hunting them for their hides only, and they did recklessly, ruthlessly. William Buffalo Bill Cody. There may have been as many as 30 million bison on the North American plains at their height, but after about 1840, their numbers began to decline. By 1880, only a few hundred survived. Here's some more pictures. So above in this picture, as you have the Pawnee on left and Sioux Chiefs on right, with Buffalo Bill center. And that was the Wild West show in Staten Island, New York, 1886. Here's a picture of Sitting Bull with Buffalo Bill and Little Wolf, Northern Cheyenne chief. It's an interesting picture of Little Wolf. Little Wolf would later become converted in his later years. He died at in the early 1900s, and his nephew would become a influential Christian leader among the Northern Cheyenne. It's interesting how the gospel came to the tribes, and how many of those that participated in warfare later in life became converted through the gospel, or at least their children became converted, not through force, but through their own choice. That's a neat picture. And then you have the Monument Rocks picture there, which is just south of here.